Let me tell you something about David Goggins, a man who's now considered one of the toughest people on the planet. But you know what? He didn't start there. Goggins wasn't born a Navy SEAL or an ultramarathon runner. He was a guy drowning in failure, a guy who was overweight, broke, and living a life of excuses. At one point, he weighed nearly 300 pounds, working as an exterminator, hating every single second of his life. He had every reason to stay stuck. His childhood was brutal, filled with abuse, racism, and poverty. Most people would have let that define them, but Goggins made a decision. He stopped feeling sorry for himself. He stopped blaming the world for his problems. He looked in the mirror, literally, and faced the brutal truth about who he was. And that's what most of you need to do too. Stop sugarcoating your life. Stop pretending it's okay to be average when deep down you know you're capable of so much more. Goggins didn't overcome failure by waiting for someone to save him. He saved himself. He decided to change, and not in some half-assed New Year's resolution kind of way. He went all in. When he realized he couldn't even get through a basic fitness test to join the military, he didn't quit. He started waking up at 4 a.m., running for miles, and forcing himself to work harder than he ever had before. And guess what? It sucked. He hated it. But he did it anyway because he understood something most people don't. Comfort is the enemy of growth. You're sitting there, scrolling on your phone, waiting for motivation to strike. Goggins didn't wait for motivation. He built discipline. He knew that if he kept waiting to feel ready, he'd die as the same miserable guy he saw in the mirror. That's the lesson. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Do you know how many times Goggins failed? He failed his first attempt at Navy SEAL training. He failed again and again. But he didn't stop. Most of you would have quit after the first try. You'd say, it's too hard, or it's not meant to be. Goggins didn't make excuses. He looked at failure as feedback. Every time he failed, he asked himself, what can I do better? That's the kind of mindset you need. Failure isn't the end unless you let it be. Every failure is a lesson, a chance to grow, a step closer to success. Goggins didn't just survive failure, he thrived on it. He used it as fuel to become stronger, tougher, and better. And let's talk about mental toughness, because that's what really separates Goggins from everyone else. While most people run from pain, he runs towards it. Why? Because pain is where growth happens. Pain is where you find out what you're made of. Goggins understood that the only way to overcome weakness is to face it head on. He didn't just train his body, he trained his mind. He would do things that seemed impossible, running 100 miles, doing thousands of pull-ups, not because he enjoyed it, but because it made him unbreakable. Most of you avoid challenges because you're scared of failing, scared of looking dumb, scared of the discomfort. That's why you're stuck. You want greatness without sacrifice. You want results without putting in the work. It doesn't work that way. Goggins turned his life around because he chose to embrace the hard stuff. He chose to outwork everyone else, to push himself beyond his limits, to ignore the voice in his head that said, "You can't do this." And let's be clear, that voice, it never goes away. Even Goggins admits he still hears it. But he doesn't let it control him. Instead, he talks back to it. He proves it wrong every single day. That's what you need to do. Stop letting that voice control you. Stop letting fear dictate your life. You're stronger than you think, but you'll never know it if you keep running from challenges. So, what's your excuse? Are you going to keep living a life of mediocrity, blaming your circumstances and settling for less? Or are you going to make a decision like Goggins did? It's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But that's the point. Growth only happens when you're willing to suffer, to fail, to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. Goggins is proof that no matter how far down you are, no matter how many times you've failed, you can rise up, you can rebuild, you can achieve greatness, but only if you're willing to do the work. The truth is, most people will hear this and go back to their comfortable, mediocre lives. But a few of you, maybe one of you, will actually listen. You'll stop making excuses, stop waiting for the right time, and start doing what needs to be done. You'll look in the mirror, face the truth about who you are, and make the choice to change. That's the moment your life begins. So what's it going to be? Are you going to stay stuck, or are you going to step up and find out what you're really capable of? The choice is yours, and no one's coming to make it for you.